Okay, so would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. Again, good evening, everyone. My name's Andrea Fields, and I am a health professions professor with Collin College here in Collin County, Texas. Juhi just mentioned to you that I do happen to be her professor currently. I mostly instruct certified nursing assisting with the college, but I do instruct other health profession courses. Um, I am originally a native of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I moved to Texas over 20 years ago and raised my family here, my husband and I. And yeah, that's mostly who I am and
Mm-hmm.
where I'm from. And
So do you want to maybe talk about like your career or like maybe just your journey as someone in healthcare, just what you've been through and anything? Mm-hmm.
yes, absolutely. So the fruits of my career began really, I would say, in high school. I knew in high school that I wanted to be a nurse. By my junior year of high school, I should say, I knew I wanted to be a nurse. Um, I actually feel like some of the high school jobs that I had were also preparation for what I'm doing today. They were mostly service industry. My very first job, I actually waited tables at a restaurant near where I live and did a little bit of retail. And then once I was in nursing school, I actually in terms of healthcare, began my healthcare career as a nurse tech or and so I would, work the floors and assist and do a lot of the jobs that Juhi, we are actually learning to do in nursing assisting. Um, but because I was in nursing school, got to do some procedure things as well. And after finishing nursing school, I went on to kind of have not your typical introductory to nursing. Um, Most of the time, people who finish nursing school, in general, I mean, some people start off in some specialty areas because they kind of know that's what they want to do, and they've kind of made a track so that they could, specialize in those areas as soon as they graduate. But in general, the first part of your nursing career, you usually just spend getting a lot of those skills type of experiences. For most nurses, that happens on what we call a med surge floor, which is a floor where you get just about any different type of disease processes that individuals might be in the hospital for. And so it allows you to develop lots of different skills as a nurse in the beginning. And that was absolutely the path I thought I would be on. But just because of some life circumstances that surrounded the time when I first graduated from school, I had to sort of think outside the box in terms of my first job as a nurse. And actually, my career as a nurse started in long-term care. My first experience was on a memory care unit. Not sure if everyone on here is familiar what that might be, but on memory care unit, those are individuals who live there because they're unable to live alone anymore because they may be experiencing symptoms of dementia. So they are forgetting and cognitively they have diminishes that really prevent them from being able to live alone. And sometimes that's difficult for families to be able to manage themselves and provide the kind of care they need. So they may go to live on a memory care unit. And that's actually where I got some of my first experiences. It was very interesting. I wouldn't trade it for the world. At the time, I wasn't extremely excited about the fact that that's where I was starting my career because I had envisioned doing something different. But I am glad that I had those experiences because little did I know that that experience was actually preparing me for what I'm doing today. Part of being qualified to be a health professions instructor at Collin College was to have some of that long-term care experience. And I think that if it hadn't happened that way for me, that I might not have gravitated to long-term care. Beyond long-term care, I've also done some skilled nursing, which was awesome because that gave me an opportunity to really hone in on some of those true nursing skills, having to be really attentive to things like starting IVs and maintaining IVs and giving injections and those kinds of things. So that was a wonderful experience, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to do that. I also spent several years being a school nurse, which was also interesting from a different perspective. Some people might not think that you're that busy as a school nurse, but you'd be surprised. You're very busy as a school nurse. Can you hold on one second? It's telling me my internet's unstable and I want to plug into my hard line so I don't drop you guys.
Yeah,
1 second.
sure,
1 second.
of course.
Okay, there we go. That way I can make sure I stay connected. But anyway, yeah, and then that kind of brings me to today. I have been a professor with the college since 2018. And while I wouldn't trade any of my experiences, I absolutely love what I'm doing today. I love the world of academia. I have always enjoyed school, even when I was very young. I enjoyed school. So it's pretty awesome to me that I get to spend my days every day in the school environment because and learning, because I feel like learning never stops, no matter what age you are. And I absolutely love it. I know, Juhi, you had asked me to talk about other things like what inspires me and things like that. I really enjoy helping others. Even though I'm in a profession that allows me to do that, even beyond that, even when I'm not actively in my work role, I find myself constantly immersed in different organizations and other affiliations that allow me to be able to help others. Watching people become self-determined and self-aware and fulfilling their own dreams is rewarding to me. So it's very inspiring to me to be in a role where I can help others and influence others. And I think that's why I enjoy what I'm doing so much. And I feel like more than ever, I'm able to do that today as a professor at the college. So that being said, that's really why I chose healthcare, because helping others is so inspiring to me. And I can't think of a field. I think there are many fields that you do have the opportunity to help others, but I don't think that there's any other field like healthcare where you have the ability to connect with people on such a personal level than healthcare. And so what other field would there have been for me other than healthcare? And like I mentioned earlier, I knew by my junior year of high school that I wanted to be a nurse. So that's kind of what brought me here. I think that I've always been on a path to lead me in this direction. Even in my family, even when I was young, I think people always kind of looked to me, oh, she's not afraid to do it. She'll fix it. She'll get it done. And I didn't generally shy away from challenges. Although I will say, when I think about who I am as a person, I wasn't always as confident and outgoing as I see myself today. As a very young child, I was somewhat shy. I think it took me some time to develop my own self-awareness and self-esteem to sort of walk into my purpose. But I think once I knew what that was, I became very comfortable in the fact of knowing who I was as a person. Sometimes when I'm asked, what animal might I identify myself with, I always think of an elephant, because their stature and size really kind of commands sort of a presence that is reared and respected. But elephants in nature are actually gentle elephants, gentle creatures, I should say. They will take charge if needed, but in general, they are very reserved and don't attempt to exert their stature or power unless they really need to. So they're wise in how they approach individuals, and in general, they're very loyal and supportive, especially as it relates to the people that they connect with. And so I feel like that identifies me, and it also helps me in my roles that I play in my work and life that I do every day. Um, so yes, again, one thing I would say was the biggest struggle for me was just identifying who I was as a person, and developing that self-awareness again about myself. Um, I have always had challenges. I don't think any of us live life without challenges. I've had disappointments, things that I wasn't always as successful as I would have liked to have been, including the story I shared with you earlier about how my career even started. Uh, I didn't get to do the opportunities that I thought I saw myself doing first. But nonetheless, I embraced what doors were open at the moment for me. And, in general, when I share encouraging words with people, it's that, you know, sometimes life has twists and turns that you aren't expecting. But sometimes you're in a place that is really preparing you for where you're headed in life. And we don't always know where that is. So be open to where you are in the moment. Um, and I think being self-aware and confident in the person that you are allows you to embrace what opportunities you currently have and to build from them and create a foundation that you'll be able to stand on that will prepare you for whatever is in your future. Are the things that I would encourage you to look into yourself and become more self-aware of. I can't hear you. You're still on mute.
Thank you, Mrs. Fields. That was amazing. That was like the best advice I've heard in a long time. Thank you so much. Is there
Absolutely.
is so we have a few questions in the chat.
Okay.
So the first question is, what do you find rewarding about being a nurse?
Okay. Again, I'll just
Mm-hmm.
reiterate. It sounds pretty cliche and
Mm-hmm.
maybe pretty redundant and not very sophisticated, but I truly have a passion for helping others. And it brings me great satisfaction and joy to know that I get to impact and touch people's lives um, in such a way, and oftentimes at a time where they're most vulnerable and need the most help. That's what's most rewarding to me about nursing. And nursing is not an easy job. It's hard work. So having those kinds of rewards make the hard work worthwhile.
Thank you. And the next question is, do you have any advice? You gave a lot of advice earlier. But any advice specifically for people who want to go into nursing or want to be a nurse?
Absolutely, yes. So one thing I will say about nursing is that we don't have enough nurses. So if that's your passion and you have a love for helping people and you also are willing to work hard and have a good work ethic and put others before yourself, go for it. We need those kinds of people in the industry. Um, there oftentimes are people who go into nursing that I don't necessarily think in terms of personality are ideal for what we need in nursing and or in healthcare in general. So I just encourage you to know that you have to have the kind of heart and work ethic to work hard to be in nursing. But if you have that, don't give up. Because the other thing about going into nursing or any healthcare field in general is that while we need lots and lots of people in healthcare, the programs like nursing school and other healthcare programs can be very difficult to get into. It's quite competitive. Um, so my best advice to you is to prepare yourself to be competitive when you submit your applications. You want to be involved in clubs like this one that you can put on your resume and on your applications when you apply, that help you to shine and stand out from others. Any type of experience that you can get as it relates to healthcare, jump into it. Do any of those kinds of things, including coursework that will make you more marketable than others. There are a lot of other healthcare related fields that allow you to earn certifications like CNA or PCT or EKG tech or behavioral technician tech. If you have the opportunity to do something, because a lot of times that coursework may only be one semester, one course, and you can earn the certification from that. Take those courses because those kinds of things will make your application more attractive as you move forward in your pursuit of different healthcare avenues.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Fields. So the next question is, what did you major in? I think in college, yeah.
Yes. My major was always nursing. I declared that from as soon as I applied and entered college. Again, the way nursing programs work though is, you spend your first couple of years of college getting those prereqs, taking any coursework that again is going to help you in terms of applying to the actual nursing program. And then somewhere between your sophomore, junior years, usually like depending on the school and the programs, usually spring of your sophomore year, you'll submit application to actually move from pre-nursing to nursing major. And yeah, I was fortunate and blessed that, first time around I was accepted and moved right through the nursing program within a 4-year time. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for explaining that us. So next question is sort of like when you were in nursing school or even now, with like everything going on between like life and like work, things like that, how do you manage like your schedule?
Oh, that's difficult every day.
Mhm.
But and I'm still learning to create a good balance. But I think more than anything in healthcare, it's you have to figure out how to organize. Um, Even if it's within your shift time and you have a certain set of patients. Okay, I'm first going to prioritize this patient because I know that they have X, Y, and Z procedures that have to be done today. So I'm going to start with that because I know I need to make sure that that gets that done. even if it's something as simple as that. And then move globally, okay, that was my day. Now, what am I going to prioritize for the week, for the month? And I think key into keeping up with all of those priorities is having a really good calendar. And you have to figure out what works best for you. I know a lot of us today use electronic devices, which are wonderful. They have lots of calendars and the ability to set and program and have reminders and things like that on them. But if you're like me, I'm kind of between the two in terms of using an electronic device and old school, just writing it down on a pen and paper type calendar. I'm transitioning. I'm trying to use the electronic piece more and more and more. I'm getting better at that. But for me, a lot of times it does help to actually write it down. Again, that's one of those things that you have to be self-aware and know what works best for you. So that's what I typically do.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Field. So a couple more questions. So the next question is, are there any experiences that you've had or that especially stand out for you that you want to talk about, anything you want to spread awareness about, that you would like more people to talk about?
I think in general, things that are important to me that I want to spread awareness about is just human dignity. In healthcare, I feel that we have a responsibility to bring humanity and humility into the care that we give to others, in our profession and just in the world in general. We have to learn to be nicer and kinder to one another. We have to learn to care for each other in the way that we each need to be cared for. Sometimes we can be so focused on ourselves that we lose sight of the fact that we have to all live in this world together. And wouldn't it be a better and nicer and kinder place if we remembered that and we treated each other with the kindness that we all deserve? I think that's the biggest piece for me. I mentioned earlier how I think it's important for you to know if you have the heart and work ethic to be in the healthcare industry, because over my career, I have encountered people that I've worked with that just did not have the heart and did not have that bedside manner, if you will. I'm not sure if that's a term you guys have heard before, but we use that to describe people in healthcare who understand what the person on the receiving end of the care might actually feel like. And they try to give care and behave in such a way that they help that person to feel better and not worse because of how they might be feeling.
Okay, thank you. So I just want to mention, since it's like Black History Month and we're trying to raise awareness for that by doing more events through the MedicaZone. So wondering if you had anything you could say on that and your own experiences as being an African American woman in America and the health.
Yes, absolutely. Well, me personally, being a woman of color, I have had instances where I felt like I was made to feel indifferent because of the color of my skin. And it's definitely, still a very real thing in today's world. I have had recent occurrences. But I think that how you deal with those instances goes back to what I mentioned before about having your own personal self-worth and self-awareness. so that you feel confident and good about who you are as a person. And when those instances happen, that you rise to the occasion and that you act and proceed in such a way that no one can uh, simplify what you're able to do and demean it because of the color of your skin. You need to have the work ethic that shows that color and skin has no bearing on how well I can perform or do the tasks that are asked of me. You need to be prepared to show that you can do the work, that you have the work ethic, that you are committed, you're responsible, and that you are not going to let someone else's thought processes hinder what you know you can do. And that's easier said than done, because I'm telling you, I had to work at building that self-awareness. I was always smart in school and knew I could do the work, but I wasn't always good at being able to verbalize that to others. As long as I was in the background doing my work and doing what I needed to do, I was fine. But sometimes I had to learn how to be able to be vocal and stand in front of a group and still be able to do the same work ethic that I knew I could do when no one was looking. Um, that takes time. And again, it does take staying committed, but everyone can achieve those goals.
Thank you, Mrs. Fields. I think that applies to a lot of different instances, and especially in this situation. So thank you for talking about that. I really appreciate it. So is there anything else? Is there anything else like you'd like to talk about, or about yourself, or about any goals that you have, or like any other difficulties that you've had to overcome, or the current situation about COVID, anything like that?
Sure.
Mhm.
So COVID was just another one of those circumstances that life has a way of throwing at you. Um, it was difficult to navigate because it was very impactful to the healthcare industry. Um, while I feel like I kind of took a back seat as it relates to the healthcare industry because, of course, I'm on the academia side of healthcare at the moment. Um, it was still very challenging because it impacted our ability to be able to go to clinicals. And so as a result, we had to regroup and figure out how to execute what we call simulated clinicals at the college and at other campuses like the campus where you and I have class, Juhi. We had to transform those spaces to essentially become our facilities. And that wasn't easy. That required kind of going back to square one and developing new assignments and new tasks and new experiences so that we could, as close as possible, simulate what it's like to actually go to the actual facilities. COVID was definitely a huge challenge, but it won't be the last. And I think that, going forward in my career, I just need to make sure that I keep myself apprised and well educated by learning as much as I can. I do that by attending as many seminars and online experiences in terms of coursework, and even sometimes taking other advanced courses on the different campuses to keep myself apprised so that I can be the best I can be to those that I'm going to hopefully impact to become future healthcare workers. Again, learning never stops.
It's true. Learning never stops. I think we did talk about that. I think one of our first classes in CNA.
That's yes,
Mm.
absolutely. And you have to be ready to embrace that, because that's the only way to keep yourself going and still relevant. Like I say, I've been a nurse for over 20 years, and things have definitely changed since I first became a nurse. And if I was stuck in only doing things the way that I first learned 20 plus years ago, um, I'd have a really difficult time being the type of educator that I need to be today to help shape and mold future healthcare workers.
Mm. Thank you, Mrs. Fields.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else you would like to add?
I can't think of anything else. I think I talked about all the things you wanted to make sure we covered.
Okay, perfect. So thank you so much for talking to us about all of that, and especially the situation with COVID and nursing itself, because nursing is not just like in one location. It's a lot of different places, and our healthcare world functions. Like the basis of it is nursing, so it's very
Absolutely.
important that everyone learns about it and acknowledges nursing is a very important part of our foundation of healthcare.
I agree with that. Absolutely,
Mm.
absolutely. And just to give you an example, when COVID first, or well, not when it first hit, but when things really started to escalate, and you had the nurses being impacted in terms of many of them were getting sick, and what we already have nursing shortages all over the world. And when the nurses started getting sick, then that meant other members of the healthcare team had to step up and actually give the fundamental basic care, including the physicians. And I remember reading about a physician who said that they found themselves having to be educated by the nurses, because they order a lot of the procedures, but they don't always do the procedures, and it's the nurses that do the work. And so so roles were kind of reversed somewhat,
Mhm.
as things were really escalating there with COVID. So I agree with you. I feel like it's the fundamental and foundation to healthcare in general, and they nurses serve a very important role.
Mhm. Okay, thank you, Mrs. Fields.
You're
So
very
I'm
welcome.
I'm gonna stop the recording here.